Breaking news! There's a massive buzz swirling around the Baltimore Ravens right now, and trust me, this one's going to shake things up in a big way. Imagine adding a former Super Bowl MVP, one of the most feared pass rushers of his era, to a Ravens defense that's already stacked with talent. Yeah, you heard that right. But before we move on, make sure you hit that like button if you're a true Ravens fan. It's always amazing to see fans of all ages supporting this team. And if you feel like it, comment, "Go Ravens!" Let's get straight to it. The rumor catching fire today is the possibility of the Ravens making a legitimate push to sign none other than Von Miller. Yes, that Von Miller. The same guy who's a two-time Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl 50 MVP, and an 8-time Pro Bowler. According to a report from Last Word on Sports, the Baltimore Ravens have been identified as a top destination for the free agent edge rusher. This isn't just smoke. It's a conversation that has Ravens fans split right down the middle. On one hand, Von Miller is no longer the player who terrorized quarterbacks a decade ago. But on the other, even at 35 years old, his production still demands respect. Let's be real, 6 sacks in just 13 games last season? That's not a washed-up veteran. That's still a serious problem for opposing offenses. And think about this. Last year, despite all the success the Ravens had on defense, nobody on the roster recorded more than 50 pressures. Kyle Van Noy, one of the key figures, topped out at 46. Only 3 players even hit the 30 pressure mark. That's not exactly the type of dominant pass rushing depth you dream about when building a Super Bowl caliber team. So here's the deal. You line up Kyle Van Noy and Odefoe on first and second downs, 2 guys who both cracked double-digit sacks last year. And when it's time to dial up the heat on third down, you rotate in fresh legs like Von Miller and rookie Mike Green. Just picture that. For edge rushers you trust in any situation, keeping the offensive line guessing, never letting up. Miller's not coming in to be a full-time starter. He'd be your third down specialist, your closer, the guy who steps up when the offense is gassed and it's time to slam the door shut. And when he's on the field, he still draws attention. Last year, even with the Bills, he ranked 5th in pass rush win rate early in the season and earned an impressive 82.4 PFF grade, ranking him 15th out of 211 edge rushers. That's elite company. But here's where it gets complicated. The Ravens' outside linebacker room is already overflowing. Kyle Van Noy, Odefoe, Mike Green, Adisa Isaac, Tavius Robinson, David Ohabo, Malik Ham, and DeJuan Black. It's a logjam. Realistically, only 5 of these guys are making the final 53-man roster. The top 3 spots are locked, and it's fair to say Adisa Isaac isn't going anywhere either. And that means the fight for the final spot could come down to Von Miller versus Tavius Robinson, or even David Ohabo. You've got to ask yourself, are you ready to give up a young, homegrown player like Robinson, who has years of development left, for a 1-year rental in Miller? Sure, Robinson's solid against the run, but are you really going to argue that he's a better pass rusher than Von Miller, even at this stage in Miller's career? If so, you might be kidding yourself. But let's not ignore the elephant in the room. As Jeff Zrebiec from The Athletic pointed out recently, the Ravens are traditionally a draft and develop organization. They prefer to grow their talent in-house rather than looking for outside help. Signing Von Miller would be a clear signal that the front office believes the time is now. Forget about the future. Forget about development. It's win a Super Bowl this year or bust. So the question becomes, are the Ravens willing to sacrifice long-term potential for a better shot at a Lombardi trophy in the immediate future? Are they ready to risk letting a guy like Tavius Robinson walk so they can have one more elite pass rusher in the building for this season? That's the dilemma staring down Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh right now. Is Von Miller the missing piece that pushes Baltimore over the top? Or would this move hurt the team more in the long run than it helps in the short term? And that leads me to ask you, should the Ravens pull the trigger on Von Miller? Would you prioritize winning it all this year over developing the young guys? Let me know in the comments right now. Look, nobody's denying Von Miller's resume. 2-time Super Bowl champ, Super Bowl 50 MVP, 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro. The dude is an absolute legend. But this isn't about what he did a decade ago in Denver. This is about whether what's left in the tank is enough to change the trajectory of this Ravens defense. The numbers say he's still got juice. Even with a dip in playing time last year, Miller still managed a 21.9% win rate early in the season. That's not just good. That's elite. He generated 4 pressures, 1 sack, and had an average time to pressure of just 2.10 seconds against Miami alone. That's a guy who can still get off the ball quicker than most defensive tackles can react. And you know what? The Ravens don't need Von Miller to be on the field every single snap. That's not the role anymore. What they need is a guy who can come in on third and long, pin his ears back, and wreck the quarterback. When the offensive line is tired, when the game's on the line, that's when Von Miller eats. Now let's be brutally honest here. This isn't a team lacking for bodies in the pass rush department. Kyle Van Noy, Odefoe, Mike Green, Adisa Isaac, Tavius Robinson, David Ohabo, Malik Ham, DeJuan Black. That's a full room, arguably one of the deepest edge groups in the NFL right now. But depth doesn't always equal dominance. Last season, the Ravens defense did an incredible job racking up sacks. But if you peel back the layers, the raw pressure numbers weren't as impressive. Nobody cracked 50 pressures. Van Noy led the team with 46. Only 3 players even topped 30. That's a red flag for a defense that prides itself on being relentless. So let's talk about that infamous number 39 spot, the likely final slot in the outside linebacker room. If Von Miller walks through that door, someone has to walk out. Is it Tavius Robinson? Maybe. Robinson is solid against the run, but he's not the pass-rushing nightmare Vaughn still is, even at 35. Or is it David Ohabo, the former high-upside pick who just hasn't stayed healthy long enough to prove anything? This is where the Ravens front office philosophy collides with win-now urgency. As Jeff Zrebiec pointed out, the Ravens have always been a draft and develop franchise. They invest in their own guys. They reward patience and development. Look no further than how they've handled players like Tyus Bowser or even Ode Foa, who was raw coming out of college but has blossomed into a reliable force. But there's also the undeniable reality that this roster, right now, is one of the most complete in the NFL. Lamar Jackson is playing at an MVP level. The offense is stacked with weapons. The secondary is elite. The linebacking core with Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen is terrifying. The defensive line is nasty. So the question becomes, are the Ravens willing to mortgage a bit of the future, like moving on from a younger player who could contribute for years, to add that one final piece to win now? Because let's not kid ourselves. The AFC is a gauntlet. Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere. Joe Burrow is back healthy. Josh Allen is still a problem. And now, the Houston Texans look like they've arrived with C.J. Stroud. You need every single weapon in your arsenal to survive that playoff run. Von Miller isn't coming in to be the future. He's coming in to be the hammer you drop in the fourth quarter of an AFC championship game. He's the guy you unleash when it's 3rd and 8, and the game is on the line. He's the guy who makes the difference between Mahomes finding a receiver downfield or getting buried in the turf. And let's not overlook the leadership factor. Having a Hall of Famer like Miller in the locker room? That's invaluable. Young guys like Mike Green and Adissa Isaac could learn more in 1 season from Miller than in 3 seasons of film study. You can't put a price on that kind of mentorship. But the flip side of that coin is tough. You sign Miller, and you're almost certainly saying goodbye to someone like Tavius Robinson or David Ohabo. It's not just a change in the depth chart, it's an organizational statement. It's the Ravens front office saying, we're in. No more waiting. No more development. Super Bowl or bust. It's a huge gamble. But is it the right one? That's where I throw the question back to you. Should the Ravens risk cutting ties with a young, developing player for a chance at one of the greatest pass rushers of this generation, even if it's just for a year? Is Von Miller the missing piece to bring Lombardi back to Baltimore? Let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Go Ravens!